Welcome to the Feel Better, Be Better show. Today, Kate and Nevada will answer your questions and introduce new topics designed to help feel better and be better. These are raw conversations, but they will make a difference.
Thursday! Tryouts for our team coming down. Gonna go over the pluses and minuses of tryouts. What do you think of that?
I think you should be an announcer. You are a lot today, sir.
I'm a lot every day.
Yeah, you're extra today.
Yeah. No. So let's see here. What do we cover? We're covering tryouts, what we do, what other people may do, things that we look for, things that we do in there, and how we evaluate how we're looking. I mean, every kid, every player, every coach has the right fit for them. You have to figure out what's right for you.
Yep. Pretty much.
Same thing with parents.
Pretty much.
Oh, glad you agree.
Always.
Yeah. You want to finish it up with your Sunday? No.
No.
Okay.
I'll let you do all the craziness, but you enjoy.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. We had tryouts this week.
We had tryouts.
Now, there's been a common theme between me and you,
Yes.
and we've been discussing the way we're going to do tryouts.
Yes.
Which is, we're not going to do tryouts like everybody does tryouts.
Yep. We didn't.
Do you want to go over some of the things that we did differently in tryouts?
Well, I mean, for the first and foremost, we had a crap ton more girls than I thought we were going to have show up.
Sure.
So, expecting like
6
to 10, and we ended up with 22.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely
Which creates a different problem.
creates a different problem and really changes how you structure things. But I didn't really change my tryout format really that much at all.
No.
But, I mean, I just really focused on keeping kids moving, doing lots of different drills that kind of broke down the fundamentals a little bit without too much coaching, but the ability to put them in uncomfortable situations, see how they would react, and then also give us the ability to do a little bit of coaching here and there to see if they were coachable. So, for example, we ran them through a lot of our infield drills like fast grounders, bumpy ball, for bad hops, partner grounders, stuff like that.
We did that?
Yeah, you weren't there.
Oh.
That was when you were late.
I'm sorry. You say that like it's not every time. Okay. Go ahead.
And we had so many girls trying out that we had our teams, our girls that were returning, run the drills while Gabby and I and you took notes on various girls. Not that you could really write down a ton, but just like make notes of like, things they need to work on, things we like, things we didn't like, stuff like that.
Yeah, mine were like, girl in blue glasses tried really hard.
Yeah. Plus, minus.
Yep. Actually, that's exactly what I did.
I know.
You
And
gotta admit they were effective.
I would honestly structure my notes differently the next time that I did tryouts, but we'll get to that in a little bit. We did some just grounders to see how they fielded grounders. We did some outfield drills, again, like drop steps and coming in to field a fly ball and then taking fly balls off the bat to see how they reacted to them. And then we did some of our hitting circuit stuff. I mean, we did not put them in positions and see how they did. We did not have them hit off live pitchers. We did a little bit of pitching catching at the end to see how pitchers and catchers were. But it was really much, for me, I can tell fundamentally where a player is at.
Well, let's make sure we get that straight. I mean, in all of the things that we did, there were usually 1 or 2 drills in particular that almost everybody does wrong unless they've been heavily coached.
Yeah.
And on those, we didn't necessarily give them the secrets. We didn't necessarily tell them how to do it. We just wanted to see how it went.
Mm-hmm.
Then, on all those, there's some ways that you can do that are backwards thinking a little bit. So, now if I explain it to them and they take it and they run with it and they try it, now you're showing some coachability. Mm-hmm. You're showing the ability to adapt. You're showing that they are able to change up what they're doing. The other thing you're also proven in that fact is that player you're looking at probably hasn't had a lot of good coaching.
Yeah.
So now you can literally look at them on the fact of like nobody's really shown them how to do the game. I'm now trying to show them and they're taking it, which means this person is a raw, talented individual. What can we do if they polish up? What would they look like?
Yeah, they're athletic. I just have to provide the fundamentals and the work for them, and they obviously are receptive to that. The biggest one that we put in there, because I liked it, is we made them bat opposite-handed off the tee. So they had regular tee, and then they had to go to opposite tee, soft toss, long toss, front toss. And they only had to hit opposite hand on one, but I could tell just from telling what the stations were before we even started which ones were going to be a problem and which ones weren't, just because you could see it on their face. The kids are like, I've never done that, I don't want to do it. And I'm not going to listen to you when you tell me how or what we're going to do. And it's like, okay, you're not the player that I want. Because
That's when they got a minus.
Yeah, you're not going to listen, and I can't make you better if you're not going to listen.
Well, what are you going to do when you hit a roadblock? I mean, seriously. I mean, what are you going to do when you hit a pitcher that's too fast for you? So you're just going to quit too? I mean, what are you going to do when you hit a pitcher that has a curveball and you can't hit it? I mean, that's kind of what you're saying. I can't do this. You're not going to try at all. You're not going to try to look for it. You're not going to work on maybe getting better. You're just going to quit.
Yeah. And we had a couple girls who, like you said, fundamentally were very raw, but had fantastic attitudes. I'm like, I can work with you. I can make you better.
Well, I'm going to take you back all the way to the beginning. I mean, that's kind of what you said in your post and your advertisement on it, was that you were looking for that.
I gave them the secrets before they even came.
Well, no, but I mean, so many of them are like, you know, I don't even read them because I don't even pay attention, but I can only imagine that I'm sure it's like, we're doing a tryout, you know, whatever, looking for the best players. Shoot, I even heard on that thing that there people were, there's some places that are now charging to try out, which is, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I get it on one side, but I'm like, who in the world is paying to try out for a team? But anyhow, I don't think they're going to tell you that what they're looking for.
No, and most of those people are looking for girls that are, or boys that have already polished enough that they can just take them and have the team that's good.
Put the all-star team together.
Yeah, that's usually those type of posts. Not that there's not coaches out there looking to develop players, but those type of posts, usually they're looking for the players that are already developed. They're looking to pick the best ones out and going. Whereas we had 22 girls, and we're going to take 11 of them because they are solid hard workers, and they're almost there, and they were coachable, and they were good kids, and they were athletic. I had a whole second team that I didn't even, like, I kind of wanted to do, but wasn't really planning on it actually happening this year, and now I have one. So it was awesome.
Oh, yeah, you gave us more work.
I know.
All those other coaches are happy. We're like, great, another team.
Because you're bored.
Yeah, you know, I can always do more. I mean, I can always show up later.
You're kind of lazy, so, you know.
I mean, yeah, I am. That is.
No,
but I mean,
the girls love it because then they get to give you a hard time every time you come in late. They love it.
Oh, no, I love it. They're always like, oh, Nevada's late again. And I'm like, oh, just like last time. Why did you even expect me to be on time? I mean, why do you... why would you even act like I'm going to be here on time? It's ridiculous. But no, I mean, I think it was kind of interesting, too, though. We had a new coach doing a tryout. And the different perspectives she had compared to what we had. Because I could be wrong. I mean, I didn't get to be in that discussion because I was late. But
you were literally there the same time.
I had to go hit. So I was late to the conversation. I was there, but I was late to the conversation. What a shocker, I'm late. But I think she had a little bit different opinion on some of the players than we did.
I mean, two of them she liked
that we didn't.
A little bit for their talent, and they were a little more outgoing. They just they were a little more fundamentally along, and they were a little more outgoing. However, they were two girls, and they didn't want to not be partners with anybody else but themselves. And even when I asked them, I'm like, okay, that's a telltale that you're not listening to me. And when we've tried to coach them in a couple other areas, they weren't very receptive to changing anything.
Sure. And
so I think when that was illustrated, the coach you're referring to is kind of like, oh, no, yeah, I could see that. Because she didn't even push back. No. She didn't push back on it at all.
I'm not trying to say that there was any kind of, like, negative. I'm just saying that...
No, it was just interesting because at first she was like, oh, yeah, I could see them being good players because they have skills. But then it was like, okay, but, like, they did this, and this. She's like, oh, yeah, that's going to be a problem. And so it's something that, you know, it's easy to mistake when you're looking at kids like, oh, yeah, because one of them, when she came up front to us, was like, she's a pretty good batter. And then trying to work with her and deal with stuff, I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to deal with your attitude. Goes a long ways.
Well, I mean, how many times have we seen this? You know, the player that's graded 10U, kid that's graded 12U, but hits 14U, and some of the players catch up, and all of a sudden they can't play anymore, and they can't adjust. So, I mean, she could be a great hitter under that circumstances, but as soon as it's a little bit of challenge, a little bit of something that doesn't work into her situation, she could struggle. And if she's not going to adjust, then what's the point?
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the worst part about it. I mean, we can sit here and actually, somebody can say that we're looking at it from our perspective on that one, but in a way, I'm kind of looking at it from the kid's perspective. If you're not in the right mindset to be able to realize that you need to improve, no matter how good you think you are, believe me, you need to improve.
Yeah.
Why is it going to benefit me to put you in a situation where you're going to be exposed to that?
Yep.
And that's what we would be doing, because we're going to be trying to get better competition. We're going to face better players. They're going to be more intense. And you're going to fail on that. And I already know that you're going to have a problem with a change, so you're going to probably close down, quit, that kind of situation. So as a coach, I'm basically making a decision that if I'm going to pull that kind of player on, that I set that kid up to want to be part of the game again.
Yep. Pretty much.
It's a tough one to look at. But, I mean, you kind of got to look at that situation.
Yep.
I mean, that kind of comes back to, like last year when we kind of talked about how we had to go to a competitive team. I mean, I brought it to you. I know you kind of knew it, but we just had too many girls that needed to be challenged farther.
And it's amazing the jumps they made, because, I mean, they were on the top end of rec, and then they got their butts kicked the first tournament that we did. And then after that, they're like, okay, they stepped up working, and they haven't been run-ruled since. I mean, you know, we're still working on pulling out the wins consistently, but we've been in every game. So they've put in a ton of work for it.
Well, yeah. I mean, we went from being not able to compete to being able to compete to now we are, in a way, finding ways to lose.
Yeah.
And now we need to be able to learn how to find ways to win.
Yep.
And honestly, tryouts, I think that will be one that hopefully could catapult us that, because we're in a situation now where, I mean, our team had gotten kind of stale. We kind of knew the girls that could play this position, and the girls that could play this position, and the girls that could play this position, and they kind of gotten where they were comfortable there. We knew that some of them needed to develop more, but they knew they were the big winner there. That was their position. They had kind of locked that down. Well, guess what? We have 4 new girls, and those 4 new girls can compete in the spot that you think is yours. So we're not saying you're out, but you better step it up.
Yeah, and we have a whole second team now that there's 2 teams. Do you want that team to be better than you? Because they're here to work hard.
Yep.
They want to be at this next level. They were you last year, ready to go and work at it. Are you going to be complacent and let them get better than you, or are you going to show them that you guys continually work and improve?
Well, it's kind of one of those things, too. I mean, we're all basically, even subconsciously, but even consciously, comparing ourselves to our environment. So as we get older, we are more knowledgeable of this rather large world that we're in and some of the things that people are doing.
Yeah.
When we're younger and we're tied into practices, we're looking at how much we're putting into practice, and they're not even necessarily thinking about the fact that there may be some kids that are working outside of practice. And then you're in this whole situation where, but there could be another player over in the city next to me that's not only doing practice, working outside of practice, but doing work at home and doing work with family. I mean, they're getting 4 times the amount of work that the kid just doing practice thinks that they're doing. And they're being the best one because they're best at practice. And as we learn that more as we get older, you kind of get that whole thing where you're just like, I'm literally working on softball every waking hour of the day, and I still don't feel like I'm doing enough. And that's the part where it gets too crazy and you got to pull the kid back. But I'm just saying, right now, where most kids are at, they're thinking they're doing more than anybody else. We know there's always somebody that's doing more.
Yeah, well, and it's hard, too, because if you're just relying on practice to get you where you need to be, you've got 12, or in our case, 24 girls on a field who are taking, 6 reps at each hitting station that you're doing. You're not going to get the amount of practice that you need if you don't work on the outside. Same with pitching. You don't pitch enough in practice. If you don't pitch afterward or work on your catching or work on ground balls or your throwing, you just don't get enough reps in practice with other girls around.
Well, I mean, we kind of talk. We tell them they should be doing extra work. And they should be doing work on the side. We give them homework assignments that nobody does.
A couple of them did.
I'm sure. And then majority did. But at the same side, I mean, and you don't talk about this, but practice is for the stuff that we have to do as a team. Now, we know we have to put in stuff in the individual side of things, or they'll never do it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them will never do it. But for the most part, if you want to improve yourself, you have to improve yourself.
Yep.
I mean, nobody else is going to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it for yourself.
Yep.
So, what else things on tryouts did we do a little differently? I mean, we kind of talked about the fact that we did put them in drills. We didn't necessarily sit back with a stopwatch. We didn't necessarily, throw them out there and see how they did against our girls.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing, you could mention the fact that we did have our girls, in a way, coaching.
Well, yeah, they ran the drills. So, I mean, I had several, I had backhands for myself, and Anna, who was over there, she just started telling the girls how to do them when they came through. So I could just sit back and watch and collect information, which was awesome. And she loved it, and it was great. It's a great experience for your players to be able to coach and articulate what you're doing to somebody else. It gives them a sense of pride that they've learned something. It teaches them how to explain the why that we're doing it. And
you never learn anything more than when you try to teach them.
I know it's hard to turn around and explain it to where it makes sense, and you kind of learn where your holes are in your communication when you do that. So that was really cool to see. And then I think the one thing that I would really change up is, with so many girls, I had sheets to where we could fill out information on different aspects of the game, like throwing or fielding or hitting or whatever, coachability, attitude. But it was too hard to fill out that many boxes when you're running through drills and moving kids so fast.
Hmm?
And, even with name tags, even taking pictures of each of them so I knew who was who, it's just hard to fill out enough of what you want. I think if I were to do it again, I think I'd put a single box with their name, and then you can, plus or minuses, or write down specific comments of something that's important that you think you needed to know for later, versus, try to tackle everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably change that, and then hopefully that could get them all on, one sheet instead of having to flip through multiple.
That'd be nice.
Because it was hard to get everybody on one sheet. But yeah.
The other thing I would say, especially with having our players run the drills,
Mm-hmm.
and so we could evaluate, but it also showed you something that most tryouts probably won't care, and that is how do they interact?
Yeah.
How do they handle it? Also teaches you on your team, which kids have a little humility, which kids are gonna not talk down to other kids that maybe not know what backhand drills are, or what long toss is and stuff like that. How is your team going to handle that kind of side of coaching it?
Yeah, and you kind of see who your leaders are, who kind of steps up in those respects, which is kind of cool. There's another thought I had in there. Oh, we got a lot of parent comments too when I reached out to parents to extend offers, to be on the team to certain girls. That, one of the biggest things is they were very impressed with how organized we were, how we kept them moving, which is not surprising. That's how our practices run. But also just how direct and concise with the instructions are. Can't belabor the point and try to over-explain everything. And it's really hard in tryouts too, to where you either don't coach at all or you over-coach kids. It's really easy to get sucked into want to fix them there, and that's not a place to fix kids. You want to do a little bit of coaching to see how they handle it, but you got to leave most of it as it is and just assess. So you got to give them the basics of this is how the drill goes, and then step back and see how they do it.
Well, some of that may be on the coaching side for the kids, but some of that could be on the parent side. You were pretty good about going up and going here's what we're doing.
It's true.
And just not kind of that thing of well, we're going to take a look at people and we'll let you know, that kind of stuff or whatever. I don't know why I'm talking like that guy. And then, you kind of went up and you said, here's, I'm going to put them through drills. I'm going to do this. And then later on when you knew, because we talked, that you were definitely going to do a second team, the parents all knew we were looking to possibly bring on one or two players, but there we had 20 kids out, and you basically, as soon as we ended, you've been over there and said, all right, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to have two teams. So instead of me looking for 4 players, I'm actually looking for 15 players. So, I'll let you know, or whatever it was. I don't think that's exactly what you said, but you definitely...
Pretty much. I just
They
told
could have
them.
easily been in that tryout going hey, my kid has no shot, to, oh, wow, great, that could be awesome,
Mm-hmm.
And so, the fact that we are flexible and organized enough to know that we already planned for that possibility really helps.
I think with that too, I think a big thing that kind of differentiates us from some tryouts out there as well is in my parent information that I gave them, I didn't try to like hide what the cost would be or how we structure things or sugarcoat how things go. It was very much, this is what our season looks like, and this is a high an approximation of the cost. I don't have the final numbers, but this is kind of what it is. And also, when I give you an offer, like, if you know you want to take it, please by all means tell me as soon as possible, but you have a couple weeks to get back to me because I know other people are having tryouts. We're kind of early on the tryout side compared to other teams, and I think it's perfectly healthy to have them go to other tryouts and find the team that's the best fit for them. And if I have somebody looking around a bunch, I know how invested they are in my program versus somebody who really wants to be there and feels connected right away to be like, yes, no, I want to be with you. I mean, you can usually feel that pretty fast.
That's something you picked up from me. I know that because, I mean, that was my biggest thing. What do you want on your team? You want players that want to play for you.
Yeah. And I mean,
why is it that you need to give them a deadline? If they want to play for you, they want to play for you. If you have to like contract somebody in, they don't want to play with you. They're afraid they won't be able to play with anybody else.
Yeah, and there's so many teams that are the premier teams that are like, you have 24 hours to decide. Mm-hmm. And that's all they give you. Give you an offer, you have 24 hours to decide. Well, crap, do I take this offer and go with you, or do I hope I get on another team at that point? Like, I feel like that's, you know, locking a player in that maybe is not going to stay with you or want to invest in your program. I want girls who are going to stay. And, you know, our retention rate, we have 10 girls that came into this tryout that were returning from our team. And I didn't cut anybody because, as we've talked, usually a player will kind of dwindle out on their own if they're not going to really fit into your program. But I did cut one because she was a problem outside of...
Well, that was an attitude effort.
Parent problem. But,
and effort.
Yes,
a lot of effort.
But I was like, if you're going to come and you're going to show up and you're going to want to be here, like, you can have a spot on the team. And if you end up not, usually you kind of leave. But
that's what I say. Kids on the team will self-cut.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to be that player that is causing you to lose games. Nobody wants to be that player that's sitting every single inning. Mm-hmm. I mean, they will self-cut.
Yeah, I forgot where I was going with my whole statement there.
Trying to give you some time there.
I know. I was trying really hard to think of it.
Well, other teams will cut. I mean, some of them don't even do it in a very nice fashion. They'll just start getting guest players in.
I remember what I was going to say. But with the 10 we have coming back into tryouts, returning, I mean, I have one maybe going to look at other teams because she feels the need to go see what else is out there, which we both encouraged her to do. But everybody else is like, no, I want to still play with you. Like, we've got the players that want to come back.
Sure.
So I think that
we'll see when the competition picks up.
Yeah, but I think that speaks volumes for picking the right players and how the season goes. Is, you know, if they really want to be there, they're going to stay there and invest in your program and growing and following, letting it all work. Let the process work and see where it goes.
Well, I mean, and while we're on, I mean, we can sit here and talk about how like we are doing these things as though it's like, this is the way it should be done type thing, but you got to look at what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I mean, our desire and plan and whole setup that we're doing is to develop players. And develop players into mature, impressive adults. Develop players into being better players that can possibly make whatever their high school team or whatever next team they want to do. If they want to go up to a level or something like that or another team, fine, great. Our job is to try what we can do to see what we can do to make them better. If your goal is to win every game, like run rule them, if that's your goal, which is fine, it's a very worthy goal. Plenty of people have that. I'm not trying to dog it whatsoever.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't structure tryouts like that.
No, it's a whole different focus.
It's a whole different situation. And you should, probably keep parents more in the dark. And you should probably be able to, like, try to charge people to try out.
Yeah, or give them a deadline so you can lock down the good players that you really want to be on your team.
Yeah. All of those make sense in that scenario. And so, I mean, you got to look at what kind of program you're doing. I mean, we've seen teams that had, 16 players on their roster. I mean, and obviously your situation is that you turn away no kid, which is fine. That's your setup. And then again, there is no like right or wrong.
Yeah.
We just got in that we like the family mindset. We like the development of multiple years. We like seeing a kid go from nobody's teaching them skills to being a player that can go coach other kids.
Yeah. And with that too, though, I mean, we are have very good discernment too about, we had a player that had a good attitude, decent skills, but hadn't really played. And it's a very much a conversation of like, maybe down the road she would be a great candidate, but has to get some level in at rec to get comfortable to be able to make that transition too.
And we still coach rec teams, but we weren't coaching that age group.
Not that age group. And I mean, she still has the ability to come work on, you know, hitting and fielding fundamentals and stuff like that to build those up. But you can't mimic that in practice enough to just take a kid like that and just be like, we're great at working on fundamentals. Now we're just going to throw you in when you've never had any background in the sport. Like, then you're also setting up a kid for failure there too. You have to make sure they're at that cusp that they need just a little bit of work to transition to be able to be successful.
Well, yeah, we can teach you how to field a ground ball and make a correct throw, but if you don't know where you're throwing it, when to throw it, why you're doing in that stuff, and what happens with the other player, because, I mean, we're doing a practice, they're set up, but, I mean, if the player is still trying to get there, do you throw it too soon? Mm-hmm. You know, and, I mean, there's so many levels on that. I mean, if you catch the ball in the air and you throw it over the first, but you were the third out, do you even know that you're not supposed to? I mean, there's so many subtleties in this game, along with plenty of other games, that you got to play a little. You can't just come out and play on a competitive team.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. You probably play one game.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a coach, too, you have to be able to have that conversation, because there are coaches that feel bad about cutting anybody or having that conversation.
Sure.
Or just, okay, I'll sign that kid up and they'll never play and they're just a number on the team and pay a fee. And, I mean, that's a horrible situation for a kid to get in.
Mm-hmm.
They don't learn anything from that.
Yeah.
Nothing positive.
Yeah.
So.
And then we should easily talk about the fact that, I mean, our whole thing too is that we're trying to do something that works for our schedule. Mm-hmm. We have aspirations outside of, you know, developing players. I don't think we're necessarily like, I'm gonna go become coach of blah blah blah, whichever one it is you want to talk about. I mean, we don't even want that. Mm-hmm. We have other things that we want to do. Okay. So we're trying to develop what's the right word here? We're trying to develop a team and a coach and a thing that we're doing that works for our schedule. So we don't want to be traveling every single weekend. We don't want to be playing every single weekend. We don't want to be practicing every single night. I mean, that's just, so our setup is that we are looking for kids that want to play that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Other teams may be looking for players that want to live and breathe in the workout facility. Yep.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. So you got to tailor whatever you got.
Mm-hmm. You do. But it's interesting when you break it down, all the nuances and things to look at. And, I mean, every level you have to prepare it the right way.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I have anything more on this. This was kind of...
I don't. That's all I got.
You got it all?
That's all I got.
Okay, cool. Well, in that case, I guess we'll let you guys think over what you're going to do on your next tryout. So
yeah,
have a good
hopefully
one.
It's helpful.
Yeah, no kidding. Hopefully.
Thank you for watching Kate and Nevada. Hope you've enjoyed this show and found it useful and empowering. If you have any questions or comments, please contact them at Kinetics.com. That's KNETICX.com. They're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. And please write a review of the show. Kate and Nevada appreciate hearing the feedback, and they welcome your reviews, and your word of mouth will help others learn how to feel better and be better.